Hello and welcome to ASL Chennai Speaks Out. Do we safeguard our children against abuse? That's our topic today, and it's an issue that should be brought out of the closet, which is why we've come out of the studio on Chennai Speaks Out to this wonderful location here on RMZ Millennia Business Park. India is a country which has perhaps the second largest population of children in the world. A recent survey has indicated that 53% of children in India are subjected to some form of abuse or the other, and 70% don't even speak out against this humiliation and the trauma that they undergo. To debate all this and more, in fact, we've got Mr. Shakeel Akhtar, Additional Commissioner of Police, Law and Order, Chennai, Madhavanti Arun, who is the correspondent of Caliber Academy, Vidya Reddy from Tulir, who wages a relentless battle, one should say, against child sexual abuse, Mr. Manohar, headmaster of MCC school, and a lot of relevant stakeholders here. We've got counselors, we've got teachers, parents, concerned parents, a lot of children, because this is a topic meant for all of you. This is your concern, and we are here to voice your concerns. Laws and flaws, that will be our first segment. What do we have now to combat this menace? We've got the Indian Penal Code and the Indian Evidence Act of 1860 and 1872 vintage, which is probably why the police also sometimes are unable to file charge sheets within 90 days, and child abusers like Will Hume get bail. Without much ado, Mr. Shakeel Akhtar, so 3 months, 90 days, not enough to file a charge sheet against a child abuser?
Because you have to collect evidence, it has to be scientific evidence, and I don't think it is possible for getting the report within those period of time. So that's the major handicap to lay the charge sheet.
The Criminal Procedure Code prescribes 90 days. Do you then feel that at least for this category of offences, we need to overhaul the law?
As you must be aware that it is unfortunate part that IPC does not talk of child and children activities at all. So we have to relook everything.
Do you believe this is due to police laxity,
Not
or is
at
this due
all.
to delays in getting forensic evidence analysed?
Not at all. I think when we're looking at an issue like child sexual abuse images, we need to understand the kind of cyber forensics you need. It takes far longer than the usual 90 days stipulated. In fact, after the media went to town and went over the top, I should say, about the fact that the charge sheet had not been filed in 90 days, we asked our counterparts in other countries what was the average time they took to actually process data storage devices seized in child sexual abuse image arrests. And they said anything from 3 months all the way up to 9 months. So I think, you know, by putting the police on the mat, we're really not achieving anything really, because we are looking at a new kind of crime which involves technology and which involves a new kind of processing as well.
Okay, for once an NGO is actually agreeing with the police, which is, I think, great that there's some meeting of minds here. Sir, what are the stages exactly when you say it takes time to analyze forensic evidence? If you can take us through the stages for common man's understanding, because there is, one would say, justifiable outrage among all these people here as to why the police took 3 months, and even in 3 months couldn't file a charge sheet, and a person like Hume gets bail. It seems like a travesty of justice in this case.
You know, as you know, that is very easy to blame police. We are here to be blamed for everything.
The media also, we'll come to that in another
Yeah.
segment.
And what happens basically, lack of knowledge, I can say. So this forum perhaps help us to clarify our certain, handicaps, what we do have. Any investigation starts with the reporting of the case. Whether case is registered, then automatically go for investigation. Arresting, remanding is the easiest thing to do. It does not stop here. Laying the charge sheet means during that period of 90 days, you have to prove with evidence that he is an accused, and depends on what kind of offense have been committed by the individuals. It may be related to your cyber crime, it may be related to anything, and the moment you get those particular piece of evidence, it is beyond our capacity to prove those immediately, because it has to go to the lab depending on the nature of evidence. Sometimes there may be DNA testing, sometimes there may be that cyber related, you have to be in touch with other part of the the group, you have to go to Google, you have to go so many agencies and all. And
with regard to child pornography, I mean, Chennai police cracked the Dr. Prakash case. I mean, an orthopedic person who was dealing with bones, who got into the flesh trade, and I think they did a splendid job of cracking that case and actually prosecuting the offender in that case.
But Sanjay,
how was Hume different in terms?
But sir, having said that, I do agree in cases of child sexual abuse images, it could take longer. But I mean, as an organization working on cases of child sexual abuse per se, we were looking at rape and molestation. we are sometimes quite surprised that the investigation does take longer than even in open and shut cases like rape and molestation.
So does the answer lie then in equipping ourselves with more cyber forensic skills? I mean, is the police lacking in that regard?
No, actually, we are equipping ourselves, but question that matter does not stop here. We have to depend on other agencies. Forensic science, we have to, sometimes they may not be equipped themselves, so they will be in touch with other agencies. So it is a circle. So if you want case to stand in the court of law, you have to ensure that evidence is proved beyond doubt. As you know that our law say that you have to prove
beyond the shadow of doubt.
Beyond shadow of
That's
doubt.
1860 vintage, so we
Whatever
have to.
maybe, whatever maybe.
When a child is abused, she herself or he herself, he himself will not know what is happening, and how will he or she be able to come and say that this has happened to me?
Most children don't disclose abuse, and I'm talking about sexual abuse. It's largely because of the kind of context in which they will have to disclose. Most probably they will not be believed, they will not be blamed, they probably will not even know they were abused. So there are various reasons, first of all, the point is, my stance in this is, we have such a few kids already disclosing abuse. Of that few kids who disclose abuse, we have even fewer who actually report it to appropriate authorities like the police. Now, after it's reported, it then becomes a little more of a circus as well. Now, our stance is that we at least have to close the gap between disclosure and reporting. So at least if a child discloses abuse, cannot that every case of disclosure be reported and handled appropriately and effectively?
That's what I'd like to ask you, Mr. Manohar, as a headmaster of a school. Do you encourage children to complain?
Yeah, we do encourage the children to come and talk to us. And basically,
how many children have you encouraged to come in your school? Give me figures in the last 1 year.
In past 1 year, any child who has
how many have you?
At least more than 10 and 20 of them have
come forward.
Different issues.
How many complaints have you taken to the police?
We have taken one particular case where the child, I had to elucidate from the child because the child did not come to school for a week, and when in the process of talking with the child, we came to know that the child was kidnapped, basically kidnapped, to be used that word, to some place, and the child was shown so many wrong things, and the parents did not know. And immediately I called the parents, talked to the parents, and then I called Tular and I told them how to go about and ask them to get the counseling from them.
You have, in fact, the Offences Against Children bill. What is the status of that? Nobody seems to, it seems to have been forgotten completely.
No, the Offences Against Children
Cold
bill,
storage.
Cold storage. It's being revived, but it's in cold storage. It's been badly drafted. It's being re-looked at, revamped at.
The existing laws then, the IPC, to prove, 354 of the IPC outraging the modesty of a woman, it doesn't say child. And again, even to prove outraging the modesty of a woman is difficult, let alone a child. So where are we? What laws do we have to fight this crime?
Where are the boys? Where are the boys?
Such things for children at all. I don't think they are in place, and I don't think they are active
as the Additional Commissioner rightly said at the outset.
And Sanjay, 354 doesn't look at boys.
It doesn't look at boys
376, which talks about rape, also doesn't look at boys. We have this archaic section 377, which is under a very which is a great deal of controversy. It's very important for people to understand that today may not be my child, but tomorrow can be my child. And at least for that reason alone,
let's bounce this off to parents here. If you can pass the mic to any parent here.
I work in this area. I just would like to share this concern. Many parents have contacted us. In fact, when they reported to the school concerned, when their children were abused in a school setting, in fact, in one case, a principal responded to the parents saying that, give me some time, I need to pray, to wait and see if there is any sign from God to reveal that if my child has, if your son has been abused. And there is another school where a classroom full of boys were abused, and the management concern of that school did not report it even to the parents of the children who were being abused. Neither did they report the teacher who was abusing in the school. And as we speak, this teacher is teaching in another school. So we are just creating opportunities for more kids.
Always when child abuses come, we only talk about the schools. But there are so many areas where the child abuse is taking place. Might be you take for a child labor area, or where there is
the point is not that, the point is that the school is the area where the child has to be educated about all these things, and that itself is a big
the
taboo.
thing is what she was saying, that the principal has done. Why did she not take that incident and report it to the police when it was?
You don't
when
seem to understand. We can't invite ourselves to a party. If a child is being abused, no. We need to understand this very clearly.
No,
if
the
a
parent
child
has told that this institution has done, this principal has done. And as a person who is so concerned, she should have brought it to the notice of the police.
Here I would
sorry,
like to
it
interfere.
involves
What
a
happened?
child here.
Just
The
think
parent
from
is
the
not
parent's point of view, what
interested in
happens?
anything.
He or she wants that school should not get the bad name. Think, because we all work in Indian scenario.
Yeah, that's it.
So the first thing happens, let the teacher, headmaster should sort out the problems.
Yes.
They don't want to go to police. Always in India, you will see the police is the last resort they think of.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's bad thing.
Okay.
Definitely bad thing. Because you take confidence of both. Suppose,
But is the
as in
police,
this
but
case-
is the police itself equipped to handle such cases?
See, we are 100% equipped to handle. It is a small
Do you agree?
issue. So far,
You deal a lot with the
that is
police. Do you
concerned.
agree?
I think definitely I've seen lots of improvement, at least with the Chennai police in their handling of cases. Lots more room for improvement, but there's also, Sanjay, we need to understand this crime is being reported only of recent. It's always been happening, but the reporting is increasing of recent. One. Two is your profile of abuser and victim is changing. So it's no longer relegated to what most people think of children in lower socioeconomic circumstances. As a school, as a place where children congregate, I think there has to be safeguards in place. Do any of the schools in Chennai have a child protection policy which looks at screening, which looks at recruitment, which looks at how to handle an allegation of abuse, how to report abuse? I mean, is there any process? The child abuse cell of the Directorate of School Education.
Can I ask you a question?
Vidya,
No,
forget child
ma'am,
protection policy. Even if you speak about child abuse and sex education in that level, you are considered a extremist. I'm sorry, not even an outcast.
Teachers are abusing. So that is very bad, and there is no rule.
The fence eating the crop.
I think the first thing is to build vocabulary. Most of us don't have the words to say it. When I talk to children around me, I find that if you use a word like abuse, it's okay. But if you use a word like sexual abuse, even the children in my family are looking at me, wondering, is it okay to have this conversation? Their parents are wondering. Most of the times we don't have the language. I think we need to build the vocabulary, and that's, I think, as parents.
All right, on that note, we'll slide into a short break on SL Chennai Speaks Out. And when we return, we'll go into our next segment and we'll deal with myths and scars as far as this particular crime is concerned. We must remember that Chennai, in fact, in an elite school in Chennai, the vice principal of that school was not long ago jailed in America on charges of pedophilia. So what was this person doing in Chennai? Were there several cases that went unreported? That's after a short break on SL Chennai Speaks Out.